Welcome back to Liz's Scrapping Studio. Glad to have you here. So I have another layout using the Gnomes for Spring collection. I'm getting down to the last of the pieces of the Gnomes from Spring. I've got a few scraps left, and I have a few other scraps on another page here that I'm using, but I am getting to the end of this. It looks like I'm going to be able to get another 2-page layout out of my scraps, and that's what we're going to go through today. And I'll have probably at least one more 1-page layout that I might be able to make. So really trying to use up this paper pack, bash this paper pack as much as I can, and getting as many layouts as I can. So with this layout that we're going to do today, I'm actually going to hop on the trend that we're seeing all over Pinterest and all over the card making sites right now, which is the faux shutter trend. And that faux shutter trend is using a geometric shape and making it look like it's a camera shutter. And I'm going to translate that into a scrapbook page. And I have from the cardstock carnival are the die cuts that were part of the cardstock carnival. And I thought, oh, that might be a good option to put on a layout versus just doing a 1/4-inch strip. And so I pulled out these 3 from the cardstock carnival. This is the Flamingo, this is Rosie, this is Glacier, and I am going to use 2 of these because I need 4 strips. I'm going to do a diamond shape. I need 4 strips, and these just aren't quite long enough, and I didn't buy 2 packages of each. I only bought a single package, and there's only 2 shapes for each of the designs. So I'm going to mix and match these a little bit on this layout. The other thing I'm going to use on this layout is I am going to use the girl gnome. So the Gnomes for Spring girl gnome. So I'm going to use her on this one. I am using, again, a few of the stamps and thin cuts from In Springtime. And then this was a stamp of the month. Oh, I can't remember which month this was, but this was a stamp in the month a couple of months ago. And I think I'm going to use this Beautiful New Beginnings as my title on this. It's a good sized title, and I think it will look really well on this sort of spring layout using the gnomes and the In Springtime set. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in what I've already started to lay out, and we're going to talk through how to create this faux shutter page. All right, so I have brought in my Versamats, and I've brought in the pieces that I'm going to use on this layout. So the left-hand side of this layout isn't necessarily very interesting from the perspective of this technique. I'm using, again, I'm using the gnome side of the paper. So there's 2 sides to the paper. One is a more generic summer design, and then the other side is the gnomes. And so since I'm going to use the gnome thin cut, I wanted to use the gnome side of the paper. So this is a scrap that I had that is a 5 1/4 by 12, and I'm going to use that. I've used a piece of jade to anchor that. And then I had a bunch of these little scraps of paper that I thought, okay, well, let's just go ahead and just create some of these blocks, right? Let's just add these in as a visual interest. I've got the sticker from the sticker sheet, and then I have some of those die cuts. And I'm going to put my sentiment up here at the top. I've also gone ahead and done the die cuts for the little girl gnome, and I've used the patterned paper that is part of the Gnomes for Spring, and just created this cute little girl here. And I've also cut out a frog and a flower, and I'm going to just sort of layer these together with these smaller with these smaller scraps. So this side I don't think is nearly as interesting, and I'll put that together and get the sentiment up there and come back and do a few things with the embellishments. So I'm going to move that off to the side. What I think is more interesting is going to be building out this faux shutter, and that's what I wanted to sort of focus on this one. So I am going to go ahead and use a base page just as a way to anchor these the papers on this. And when I went ahead and laid this out, I really liked the scallop with the hole in it, and I have a piece of, again, the jade paper. This is 7.5 by 7.5 square. And when I lay that on my Versamat here, and I line it up, so I'm using the Versamat, I've got the 6. I want to line up this so that I've got the points all pointing to the 6 on the Versamat. And that's how I know that I've got this equal on each side of this diamond shape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have these pieces alternate. And these pieces are going to alternate. Yeah, I think we're going to do the pink up here, the glacier there, and actually this will probably go off the page like that. Then we'll have the glacier down here, and then we'll have the pink like this. Oops, wrong way. The pink going like that. Okay. So again, we've got this faux shutter design, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take a full piece of 12 by 12, and I'm not doing any measurement. One, I'm not great at figuring it out, and I'd spend a lot of time doing that calculation. So I'm not going to do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this piece of paper down. Once I get this this diamond lined up correctly, I'm going to put this paper down. I'm going to adhere it, and then I'm going to cut around that piece. Now, it's probably not the best use of paper, I will admit, but I think that from the perspective of trying to figure out all the geometric angles here is not my forte. And you know what? If I waste a little bit of paper, I'm okay with that. So far out of this particular paper pack, this is going to be layout number 4 or 5 of a two-page layouts that I've created. Plus, I've already done a 1-page layout. So I think I've really used the paper well at this point, and so I'm a little less concerned about you know, losing some paper in the process of creating this layout. All right, so now that you have an idea, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to get this piece set down and locked into place, and then I'm going to go through and do the paper layout using the pattern paper, and then show you the final piece with putting on these pieces for the creating that faux shutter look. All right, so I have my piece of jade down, and I think the easiest way that we're going to be able to do this is to go ahead and just take your tape runner and take your adhesive and just cover the white part of this base. And then that way you can line up your patterned paper, and I am trying to use it wisely here, in that I'm coming right to the corner right here on this, and then I can push that down, and then we're going to turn this over and grab your scissors, and we're going to cut this. And It's going to be a little bit awkward, and it looks like maybe I need to put a little bit more adhesive right here on the edge so that it actually really does lock it down on that corner where I'm going to be trying to make that cut. And we're going to go ahead and do the best to get a nice, neat trim line, just following that white daisy paper. The other option with this too is that you can flip this paper over and use the other side if you want to have two different patterns. And so we'll just take a look at that and see if that's maybe a route we want to go to, especially since we're using the glacier strip that along with the pink strip. And so since this side of the paper is more heavily glacier, it might look interesting to go ahead and use both sides of this paper as part of this layout. And I'm just gonna clean up the cut on this side. Looks like I didn't quite go far enough. Make sure we got that. Okay, so there is number one. So like I said, we could come in and we could go ahead and use the blue here, right? The blue side or the glacier side, and we can make that cut. Or we can continue and just use, again, the side that has the gnomes. And so I'm going to just play with this. I'm going to actually rotate this so that I can lay this flat. And I'm going to just lay out my strips again and just sort of decide here which direction I want to go. So if I do that, and this, whoops, wrong way. If I go like that, do I like that better? Or do I like it with the blue? So we'll just flip that over and we'll take a look at this as the second option. I just think, I'm thinking looking at this, it's just going to be too much glacier if we do that. I think we need to stay with the green because it's more of a contrast against this piece here. So I think we are going to go ahead and just stick with just making it all the same and using the gnomes that are the green. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and again, I'm going to try and utilize this paper as best I can. And the nice thing is I've got a nice cut right here. And I can actually just butt all of this up against that cut, and that's going to work out perfectly and utilize that paper well. So again, same thing, I'm going to just add my adhesive, making sure I get to those edges. And we're going to go ahead and line that cut edge right up against the edge of that white daisy and up against the edge of our jade piece. And we're going to come in and we're going to make that cut. So as you can see, this isn't that difficult to do as long as you've got the right, have decent sized pieces of paper, whether they're scraps that you're using or whole pieces of paper that you're using. You just need to make sure that they're big enough to do the coverage that you're looking for. All right, so that is that piece. That was not a very clean cut right there. Let's go ahead and clean that up just a touch so it's not quite so wavy on that edge. You don't want it to look too wavy. All right, that's a little bit better. Okay, so now we've got to come over to this corner and we're going to do the same thing. And so as you can tell, it's not a very difficult process. It can go very quickly. And then we're just going to decide how we want this piece to go. I want to make sure that I have enough left to do that last corner. And because this isn't a straight edge, I'm going to just go ahead and bring in my paper trimmer. And I'm going to just do a little bit of a trim right there. So I've got a straight edge to work with. Just trying to figure out which is going to be the best layout there. Okay, I think that one is going to work best. So, okay, we're going to grab that guy and then we'll do our trim. And then we just have one more side to do. So on this, I will get to the edge here. And again, we've got to do that. Rotate it one more time. Try and get, I'm a righty, so cutting to the left of this paper is a little bit more difficult. Making sure I get close to the edge of that white daisy. All right. Yeah, looks like we need to get a little bit better there. Sorry if my head's in the camera. Let's just rotate. All right, there we go. Okay, so now we've got one last piece that we need to get done here. And again, I'm going to I'm going to play around with it. It looks like right, that will work well. And since I know I'm going to cover this seam right here, I don't need to go over. I can just put it here. And I think that will give me a nice clean line. So one last time, go ahead and nestle that together and do our last cut. So it's been great to see kind of this style show up on so many cards. And but I thought, it was also really fun from a scrapbook layout perspective. And especially if you want to use two different papers, I think that would also be really fun if you've got some papers that you have. And again, you can use solid 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch even strips, not necessarily using these decorative borders that I'm using. I just thought it would be fun to pull in something that was part of our special last month, since I just got them in, and I thought it would be fun to show you how you could maybe use them in a different way than just a specific border. My other thought is that that you could also use the zip strips, right? You could take 2 of the zip strips, and I just happen to have these zip strips sitting here. But like, if you wanted to, you could alternate zip strips like so, and use the zip strips for this technique instead. So that's another option for using up zip strips. And I think, and I actually really love these flower pots. As far as, an option on this one is looking like that. And so that's really fun, I think, as another option. But we're going to stick with my original plan, and we're going to go ahead and we are going to add in our zip strips, or our faux strips that we have here. So I know I have a seam here, so I want to make sure that I cover that seam. And again, you could use the light side or you could use the dark side, whichever way you want to go. So if you like the light side better of one of these, because they are two-toned, you can use the light side versus the dark side. And I'm going to just look at this and decide which way I want to go. I actually do think I like, I think I'm going to do the dark side. I think it pops a little bit more. I like both, but I think the light side's just a little bit too light for this. So I think we are going to stick with the dark side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move this over, and on my Versa mat, or my all-purpose mat, I'm going to add my adhesive, and we're going to go ahead and, oops, need to do the other side too. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and lay down this first part of that. And again, we need it to go over the page, over the edge of the page on both sides in order to create this effect. And we'll have to cut that off on the sides here. So we'll flip that over and we'll cut off this piece, and we will cut off this piece like so. Okay. Now we can do the same thing with our pink strip, but we're going to butt the pink strip up against that glacier strip. So again, I don't need to necessarily put adhesive on the whole thing because I'm not going down, I'm not coming all the way, but I do need a little bit more than what I did. Didn't get quite to the edge there. So we're going to go like this, like that, and we'll cut off that piece here. And I might add a little bit more adhesive there at the end, but we'll see. We'll see if it stays down. All right, so then we'll do the same thing on this side. So we're going to butt that piece right up against there. So we need to put adhesive roughly to about there. Finger measurement there. Come in here. And you can always rotate your mat or rotate your layout so that you have a better angle for managing it. All right. And then we just have one more piece to put on. So I'd love to know in the comments what you think of this layout. Is this something that you would create, or is it not necessarily your style? Actually, we're going to change this one. This one needs to be shorter. I needed to actually do the pink one. We're just going to lift that up right now because we need the tails to hang over. This is just lifting up a little bit and it's bothering me. So I want to tack that down. So I need this tail to hang long, just like the other pink tail on the other side. So we're going to just do, again, measure with my finger a little bit. We're going to lay this down like so. And then this one we're going to trim up just like that. All right. Okay, so this is the layout, and looking at it, I think this is the direction I want it to sit. Again, it is somewhat, it's not really a directional paper, but you do have these gnomes that are throughout it, and I don't really want them to be upside down like this. So hopefully you can see, they're kind of upside down if I do it like this. They're upside down if I do it like that. And so this way they're oriented a little bit better. And so two of the directions they're oriented a little bit more realistically in how they're laying on the piece of paper. So I'm probably going to just double check that and make sure that that works. All right. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my photo mats on here, assemble the left-hand side of the page, and we're going to come back and we're going to do some embellishments on these pages to finish them out. I've got my left side papers down now, and I've got my foam tape on all of my pictures and everything, and I've done a dry layout of what I think is going to go where from our little gnome down here and our embellishments over here that I've moved over to the right-hand side. I think we're all set. So the next thing I want to go through is we're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment that we're going to use, or not, I guess we wouldn't call it a sentiment. We're going to stamp our title, Beautiful New Beginnings. And we are going to stamp this in sapphire. I actually really love the sapphire color. I've used it a couple of times on with this paper, and I really love I don't know, the deep richness. It to me, it looks nicer than just the stark black. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that same thing with this this layout. So again, this is the Looking Forward stamp set, and the Beautiful New Beginnings is what I'm going to use as my sentiment. And I'm going just to take our little girl off and our pictures off, and we're going to flip over the Versamat, and we are going to do stamping directly on the page. And this sometimes scares people, and I completely understand that, because it's, you know, if you mess it up, you are kind of stuck. But not really. We can fix it. So again, I've got everything adhered down. I flipped over my Versamat to the soft foam side, and I'm going to just, before I do anything, I'm going to just kind of figure out where I want the placement of this. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to grab a pencil, and I'm going to just do a little line right where I think I want the sentiment to end. And I think that looks good. And I just used it in pencil so I can easily erase it. All right, I'm seasoning up the stamp because it is a new stamp. I haven't used it, and so I want to get the finish off of the stamp. And we're going to just take our other layout, kind of put it out of the way just so we don't accidentally get ink on it. And I'm going to just try to make sure that my layout is straight. And we're going to ink this up. Now, this is a fairly big stamp, and you want to make sure that you've got good ink coverage before you stamp it, because we're not using a stamping platform where we could go back and do it again. So we really want to make sure that we have enough ink, and I'm looking through to see that. You want to try and get it straight, and then come straight down, and then put some pressure on this stamp all the way across. Now, I see I've got a little bit of ink right up here in this corner, so I want to be careful that I don't push that down. I didn't clean up my my block, and I'm hoping that it won't transfer to my page. Again, I'm just trying to give it a chance to soak in. I'm putting some pressure on the middle because it's a long stamp and I want to get hopefully a really clean image. All right, I'm really happy with that. That actually is quite nice. All right, so I'm going to just stamp that off before I get a chance to clean it, just so that I don't get ink on myself. And I'll clean that up in a little bit. All right, so now we can come back and flip over our Versamat again, and we can finish putting the pieces together. So we're going to put our little gnome down here at the bottom, and I have popped her up on 3D foam tape, and we're going to put our pictures down as well. And I'm going to start with the big one first before I put her down. I just want to make sure that I give it enough space. Then I'm going to get our little girl down, and I do have her popped up on quite a bit of foam tape so that she stands up, and it's the thick 3D foam tape, not the thin. You don't necessarily have to take off all the foam tape backer. You can leave some of it what do I want to say? You can leave some of the foam tape with the covering or the backer still on it. You don't have to take it all off. All right, and then we're going to put our little frog friend down here. I thought he was really cute, and then we'll add some adhesive to the flower and just nestle that up in there. All right, so now we can put our other two pictures down. Actually, before I do that, I actually want to do one additional technique on this page that is going to add some interest to this green piece. And what that is I'm going to create a doodle line. And I'm taking a relatively thin pen. This is a this is a 01 pen. And I'm actually going to create a doodle line that's just going to go around this green piece here. And the reason I want to do this, I'm trying to break up this solid color. And so I'm just dragging down. I'm trying to keep the pen and my eye moving at the same pace. And it's easier if you look ahead of where the pen is going versus trying to anticipate. So that just created a little bit of border, and you can just see how that brings out a little bit more depth to this green. The other thing that I am going to do is on this section here, I am going to find my limeade brush. I thought I had a limeade one. Hopefully I can find that. I want to add just a little bit of color back there as well. Let's see, Brook, Lagoon, Jade. I think my limeade's in another space, but this is Jade. I am going to, let's just get the paper out and see if there's anything on this one. No, it looks like this is pretty empty. So I'm going to go ahead and go, limeade's lighter than Jade, so that shouldn't be a problem to use the same brush. I want most of the ink off of it. I just want a light coloring behind this. Just a light tinge. And remember, I think I've said this before, you can always build up color, but you can't take color away. And so it's just being very gentle and building up the color is what I wanted to do here. Again, just bringing some highlight to this title like that. Okay, I think that's good. I don't want any more than that. All right, so now we can put our pictures on, and then we'll do the embellishment piece. So I wanted that one there. As far as journaling goes on this one, I'm going to have a few spots where I can do journaling. I'm going to have some space over here. I'm going to have some space down here. And then I've got a bunch of space over on the right-hand side as well. So I think I've got enough spots for journaling on this one. And then we're going to just grab our butterflies here. And I am just looking at it. I'm going to go ahead and pop these guys up as well, up and off the page. And again, just to tie this in a little bit with the bottom part. And again, I like pulling in this patterned paper on these butterflies. I thought using those little scraps to create these butterflies, I really like that. Also reduces the amount of coloring that I have to do. I'm not the best at coloring, and not necessarily something that I like to spend time doing. So just doing that little bit of paper, colored paper, really just helps. All right, so this side is done. I probably will come in with a couple of embellishments. I don't know that I have them handy here. I might even just pull in black and white dots and add a couple of those in there along with journaling strips. But for the most part, I think that side is done. So the right-hand side, I've got 3 photos on this side that we're going to go ahead and place. And you could use bigger photos than I did. I am going to kind of create a little bit of an angle with these, not too much. I don't like too much of a severe angle on my photos. I know some people do, like that, but for me, that's not my favorite. Just a little bit of an angle. And again, the idea here is you could put more photos on this side, but then you kind of lose the work that we did to create this faux shutter. And so that was why I decided to only go with 3 photos. I wanted to pull the gnome over to the right-hand side. So again, this is the sticker, and I'm going to take the sticky back off using my anti-static pouch. And we're going to pop that up on 3D foam tape as well. And we are almost done with this. Actually, I wanted to do those lines. I completely forgot. I wanted to do those lines on this page as well. So we're going to work around our photos at this point, because I didn't do those lines, but we'll make it work. Again, just to give some visual interest, or to make this green piece pop a little bit more off of the page. These doodles just really help create that eye spot and have the green pop off the page. All right, pretty happy with that. Okay, so now let's bring in our little sticker here. So we're just gonna have her right there. And then I had, again, some more of these die cuts, so I thought that they would look fun over on this right-hand side to create a little cluster. Also bringing in the patterned paper that we had from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, because we didn't have any of the striped patterned paper over here. So even just bringing in this little piece of a butterfly that has that patterned paper, we've brought over that, brought that over onto this page. Let's see, I don't really like that bird there. I feel like we need it clustered a little bit closer together. Okay, I think I like that better. All right, so then I also had this Enjoy Little Things sticker, and I'm going to do the same thing with the anti-static pouch because I need to pop it up on a piece of foam tape. Because I have those photos popped up, I need to make sure that this sticker also is popped up, otherwise it's going to look funny. So we've got that. And I like that right there. All right, so I think the last thing that I would do on this is just add some of the journaling strips. And we've got these stickers, our journaling stickers that we had, and I'll probably put, I like the bigger ones better, so I'll probably put a couple of those down here at the bottom, but you don't need to watch me put that together. And I am pretty happy with this layout. So again, creating that faux shutter look here on that side, and then using some paper scraps and the New Beginnings stamp set with our little gnome. I think this just really turned out super cute and was a great way to use up some of those paper scraps, but also create a really interesting page here on the right. So if you liked this one, please feel free to give me a like on this video, and I would love to have you as a subscriber if you've just found my channel and hadn't seen any of my videos before. And I will see you on the next video. Have a great one.